The cameras flashed with blinding intensity as a tall, striking blonde woman stepped onto the red carpet, her elegance unmistakable, her poise inherited from generations of aristocratic breeding. Yet for all her natural grace and famous lineage, Lady Eliza Spencer remained a mystery to most observers, a paradox of visibility and invisibility, forever caught between the weight of her family's extraordinary history and her determination to forge her own path. Born into one of England's most storied families, niece to the most photographed woman of the 20th century, Eliza would spend her life navigating the treacherous waters between private citizen and public curiosity, between duty and desire, between the legacy of Diana and the reality of being simply, impossibly herself. Lady Eliza Victoria Spencer entered the world on July 10, 1992, at St. Mary's Hospital, in London, before her siblings and herself were moved to Capetown, South Africa, a location that would prove both blessing and burden. She arrived as the second youngest child of Charles Spencer, the 9th Earl Spencer, and his first wife, Victoria Lockwood, a former fashion model whose own story would become entangled with scandal and heartbreak. Eliza was born alongside her twin sister, Lady Katia Amelia Spencer, in 1992, following their elder sister, Lady Kitty Spencer, and preceding their younger brother, Louis Spencer, Viscount Althorp. From her first breath, Eliza was not merely a child, but a repository of history, a living connection to the Spencer family that had produced courtiers, politicians, and, most famously, the Princess of Wales. The Spencer name carried with it centuries of privilege and expectation. The family could trace their lineage back to the 15th century, accumulating wealth, titles, and influence through strategic marriages and royal favor. They had served monarchs, shaped politics, and established themselves as fixtures of the British aristocracy. The family seat, Althorp House in Northamptonshire, stood as a testament to their enduring power, a stately home filled with priceless art, ancient books, and the weight of tradition. But by the time Eliza was born, the Spencer story had taken on a decidedly modern and tragic dimension. Her aunt, Diana, Princess of Wales, had transformed the Spencer name from aristocratic footnote to global phenomenon. Diana's marriage to Prince Charles, her charitable work, her struggles with the royal family, and her revolutionary approach to public life had made her the most famous woman on earth. When Diana died in that Paris tunnel in August 1997, just 5 years after Eliza's birth, the shockwaves rippled through the Spencer family in ways both public and devastatingly private. Eliza was too young to fully comprehend the loss, but she would grow up in its long shadow, forever defined by an aunt she barely knew, but could never escape. The Spencer family's decision to raise their children primarily in South Africa was itself controversial, a geographic escape that some viewed as abandonment of duty and others saw as necessary protection. Capetown offered distance from the relentless British press, from the goldfish bowl of aristocratic English society, from the constant comparisons to Diana. Charles Spencer, himself traumatized by his sister's death and critical of the media's role in it, sought to give his children something approaching normalcy, or at least the aristocratic version of it. Eliza would attend expensive private schools, grow up in luxury, but with the Indian Ocean rather than the English countryside as her backdrop. Yet geography could not protect the Spencer children from the dysfunction that plagued their immediate family. Charles Spencer's first marriage to Victoria Lockwood deteriorated dramatically in the years following Eliza's birth. The divorce, finalized in 1997, the same year Diana died, was acrimonious and public, with allegations of infidelity on both sides splashed across tabloids. Victoria Lockwood, who had battled an eating disorder during the marriage, would later struggle with substance abuse issues. The breakdown of their parents' marriage meant that Eliza and her siblings experienced the disorienting reality of split homes, divided loyalties, and the knowledge that their private pain was considered public entertainment. Charles Spencer would marry twice more, each union bringing new complications, new siblings, and new dynamics to navigate. His second marriage to Caroline Freud, the former wife of Matthew Freud, great-grandson of Sigmund Freud, added 2 more children to the blended family. When that marriage also ended in divorce in 2007, accompanied by revelations of Charles's numerous extramarital affairs, the pattern of instability was undeniable. His third marriage, to to Karen Villeneuve in 2011, who then became Countess Spencer, appeared more stable, but the damage to his older children's sense of security had been done. Eliza grew up understanding that even fairy tale lineages came with very real dysfunction, that titles and wealth could not insulate anyone from human weakness and pain. The Spencer family controversies extended beyond marital discord. Charles Spencer himself became a polarizing figure, praised by some for his fierce defense of Diana's memory, particularly his searing eulogy at her funeral, and criticized by others for capitalizing on his sister's fame. He opened Althorpe House to tourists, established a museum dedicated to Diana on the estate, and wrote books about family history that some viewed as exploitation of tragedy. The question of how to honor Diana, while also allowing the family to move forward, became an ongoing source of tension, both within the Spencer clan and in public perception. For Eliza, coming of age meant confronting these legacies while attempting to establish her own identity. Unlike her older sister Kitty, who embraced modeling and became a social media presence, or her brother Louis, who would eventually inherit the earldom and its responsibilities, Eliza maintained a relatively low profile. She was educated in South Africa before attending university, studying psychology and working to understand, perhaps, the complex family dynamics that had shaped her own life. She avoided the party circuit that consumed some of her aristocratic peers, eschewed reality television offers, and carefully guarded her privacy. Still, certain moments thrust her into the spotlight, whether she welcomed it or not. Her presence at the royal wedding of Prince William and Catherine Middleton in 2011 generated intense media interest, with photographers capturing every angle of the Spencer twins as they arrived at Westminster Abbey. Again, at Prince Harry's wedding to Meghan Markle in 2018, Eliza found herself scrutinized, her appearance dissected, her expression analyzed for clues about family dynamics, and her thoughts on her cousin's romantic choices. She handled these occasions with grace, but they served as reminders that for a Spencer, and particularly for Diana's niece, true privacy was an illusion. The relationship between the Spencer children and their royal cousins, William and Harry, was complicated by history, distance, and diverging life paths. While they shared the bond of Diana's blood and memory, they had been raised in radically different circumstances. The princes lived under constant security and protocol. The Spencer children had relative freedom. The princes would become working royals with constitutional roles. The Spencers were aristocrats but civilians. Family gatherings occurred, but the relationships were necessarily constrained by the gulf between royal and merely noble life. As Eliza moved through her 20s and into her 30s, she continued to maintain her privacy with remarkable success. Unlike many of her generation, she refrained from oversharing on social media, rarely gave interviews, and pursued her interests away from public view. Reports suggested she worked in various capacities, including in fashion and charity sectors, but she deliberately avoided the spotlight that her surname could have easily secured. This restraint itself became notable. In an age of personal branding and influencer culture, Eliza Spencer chose discretion. The irony of Eliza's position is inescapable. Born into one of the most famous families in the world, she is herself largely unknown. She has been photographed at high-profile events. Her face is recognizable to those who follow the Spencers, yet her own voice, her own story, her own aspirations remain largely mysterious. She is famous for being related to famous people, visible yet unseen, documented yet unknown. In this, she perhaps embodies the particular burden of aristocracy in the modern age: permanent public interest without any particular public role, expectations without clear purpose, fame without achievement or desire for it. The controversies that have swirled around her family, her father's affairs and multiple marriages, her mother's struggles, the ongoing debates about Diana's legacy and how it should be commemorated, questions about the Spencer wealth and how it is managed, have all touched Eliza's life without being of her making. She inherited these complications simply by being born a Spencer, by being Diana's niece, by being part of a family whose private dramas have always become public spectacles. Now in her 30s, Lady Eliza Spencer stands at a crossroads familiar to many modern aristocrats. The old certainties, that breeding and title alone conferred purpose and respect, have eroded. The modern world demands more than lineage. It demands accomplishment, authenticity, purpose. Yet the public remains endlessly fascinated by aristocratic families, particularly those connected to the royal family, particularly those who carry Diana's DNA. Eliza must somehow honor her family's past while carving out her own future, must acknowledge her privilege while justifying her place in the world, must remain a Spencer while becoming fully herself. The story of Lady Eliza Spencer is ultimately a meditation on what it means to inherit not just wealth and title, but trauma and fame and impossible expectations. She did not choose her family, her lineage, or her connection to one of history's most beloved figures. She has, however, chosen, insofar as choice is possible for someone in her position, discretion over display, privacy over publicity, and substance over celebrity. Whether this will ultimately prove a successful strategy for happiness remains to be seen. But in an age of constant exposure and voluntary self-revelation, there is something quietly radical about Lady Eliza Spencer's determination to remain, as much as possible, her own person, rather than simply another character in the never-ending Spencer family saga.